Welcome to another edition of the Dementia Care Partner Talk Show. Now, here's dementia care expert Teepa and your host, Greg Phelps.
Hello and welcome to the Dementia Care Partners podcast. I'm your host, Greg Phelps, along with dementia care expert Teepa. And Teepa, studies have confirmed that women have a greater risk of developing dementia. In fact, around twice as many develop Alzheimer's disease, the most common type of dementia, compared to men. Main reason for this risk factor is that women live longer. Old age is the biggest risk factor. So where am I going with all this? Well, due to these numbers, there are more women than men residing in long-term care communities. And as a result, activity calendars most often reflect a variety of feminine-based activities. So what can be done for us guys? Can we get an old car and put it in the group room and we could take it apart, or, some power saws to fix? What could we do?
Well, we could, number one, recognize how many males or folks that have a preference for something. So we could think individually rather than think herd. Okay, so first thing, do we think about the individuals that we're supporting and caring for? So
Very seldom.
Very seldom, but if we did, I'd look at the profiles. How many of the men in my community have a background in groups, one group or another? They're part of groups. And what kind of groups do they tend to be part of? So let's think about that for a second, Greg. Over the course of your lifetime, what kind of groups have you been either a leader in or a member of? Over the course of your entire life, as a guy, what are some things you've done or haven't done? Or I guess have done, that guys do.
Yeah, politics.
Politics. So, political activity, run for office or serve or vote or whatever.
Golf, of course.
Sports. So participating in sports. And it's either, did you do it as a team member or as an individual or on a team? Did you have a partner or something like that? You went out and did something.
And then, of course, Rotary, which, an awful lot of people believe belong to all over the world, Rotarians. So
Rotary or Civitans or, organizations belonging to a organization related to civic responsibility or professional responsibility. Now, there's another group that I don't know whether you ever did. Maybe you did. I know you like to ride motorcycles. Were you ever part of maybe a gang? I don't know.
Yeah, Greg and the Hells Angels, yeah.
Or maybe even, were you ever part of the military? Because that's a group as well. Okay. And did you work outside your home as a role?
Always.
And when you were working outside the home, were you in a position of leadership or following, middle management, or were you a worker bee the whole time?
Well, I've done all, so I sort of go across the whole spectrum.
Okay, if you think about you've done all, who was your leader? Was it a female or a male?
Male, then strong female.
Male, then strong female. So if I took those profile pieces and I said, okay, so what do we offer for people in those categories with those profiles? Well, okay, do we have meetings where we govern or we have some sense of political, like whether it's, we're going to vote on things? And do I have an opportunity for the men in the organization to sort of, have a platform to say what they think and to have discussions about whether or not you like something, you believe in something? Now, right now in the US, at least, I wouldn't necessarily recommend that in a facility, because what would happen, do you think, Greg?
There might be some discussion.
Well, that's what I'm looking for, is discussion, debates, that kind of thing. But in fact, I'd have to be thoughtful, but we could have a debate. We could debate about things. What do you think about recycling? Do you think we should implement a recycling program or not? Okay, now what's another guy thing that I could maybe do related to that?
Well, the facility that I volunteered at had a very small male population. And so they always said, Greg, can you take these guys, and usually 5 to 6, and we would get away from the women, go down to the cafeteria, and we drank beer, although it was zero alcohol, but we sat there and had beer in our private corner. And if a man said the F word or something like that, nobody was offended because we were guys.
That's right. And so creating a simulated bar or like a place where guys could hang out, a little different than the tea room or, the fancy parlor, but creating a corner, a space, a situation, and a leader. So that's one. We go and hang out and we drink whatever we drink, beer, pretzels, coffee. But the idea is it's a no female zone. Now, what about sports? What are things that we could offer guys with sports? What are some ideas? Because this is where I truly believe we've got to get better at that. Now, did you ever watch a game that you really enjoyed, Greg?
Hockey addict.
Hockey.
Yeah.
So if I found out what some of the teams were that my folks liked, and I was in Canada, so it was hockey or baseball or whatever it is, could I pull some highlights and could we have a highlight reel of some of the famous plays, those kind of things? Would that be something that I could really have? I'd love for you to come because I want your opinion about these players.
That sounds like it's a little more labor intensive than most paid staff have time to do. So when you have like the Super Bowl or something, pick your teams. NHL hockey right now, it's Canada versus the US. So,
Yeah.
I think that the challenge is to actually sit down and sort of recognize who you've got and what can you possibly do with them. That's what I'm hearing you say.
Well, and we've described two things where you either watch something or you talk about something. But what if then on recycling, actually we had a men's crew that picked up and did the recycling? We went around with a cart and the guys actually picked up recycling. And one of the things we actually do at Snow Approach is we have two guys that love to be in charge of crushing cans. That's their favorite activity on Friday mornings, that we stock up all the cans, get all the cans ready, and they crush the cans. So they love to do that. And when we had kids in, they loved helping the kids crush the cans. And they collected those and they went and they put all the stuff in the recycling. And for those guys, but there are other things guys do that can be something to think about. Now, how do we do that? We do it with volunteers. I mean, that's how do I recruit a volunteer? Well, hey, Greg, why did you do what you did in the building? Why'd you do that?
I was frustrated because I saw a need. I saw men sitting at the table, virtually dozing off in their wheelchairs. And I said, there has to be something better than this. And this was when I was first getting my training through Positive Approach to Care. And I quickly identified that I could do the beer thing and get some model cars and, and that worked. But that was just one small group of guys. Then you got to start thinking outside the box. And that's where the training actually pays off.
It does.
You're giving us lessons now.
Yeah, because the thing is, men aren't one note. Women try to think guys are one note, but they truly aren't. That idea of I may want to serve, I may want to have fun, I may want to be outside. I want to go do things outside. I've done things where I said, hey, staff, who has a car they're willing to let us wash? And I know I could use your help, Greg. I'm going to try doing car washing, but I know for a fact that I'm not stellar at it. I've got a lawn chair, a couple of lawn chairs out here. Would you guys come out and just sort of monitor and see whether I'm doing it the way I should? And so what do you think happened within 5 minutes of me starting to do the washing of the cars?
I kind of think you were sitting in the chair and there was probably a bunch of hands all over your car because you weren't doing it right.
I wasn't doing it right. And within a few minutes, they started off as supervisors. And then what happened is, well, wait, here, let me show you how to do this. And it was sort of like Huck Fin and Sawyer kind of time. But what I also could do then is say, hey, could the ladies bring out some lemonade and some stuff for us? We're going to take a break in a little bit because then comes break time. And so I got all the guys outside doing something. And it was just me. And there were 5 guys with me. So in the 10 women inside, we're doing other things, but then we came together as a group. And what did the women admire?
So this doesn't have to be specifically for a facility. If you're taking care of somebody at home, again, still remembering that many are men and women, many still have great capabilities.
Yeah. So, Greg, I happen to know you have a whole nother line item on your list of photography. So I could use some help. I want some pictures of some squirrels.
I only have chipmunks today, Teepa.
Oh, darn. Okay. Well, you know what? Maybe we could go out for like 10 minutes and see if we can run across, oh, not run them over, but find some squirrels that we could get some pictures. Now, do you want me to hold the camera or do you want to hold it?
You're not getting that out of my hands.
I didn't think so. But then what we have is for later on, guess what we could have? Slideshow. Why would people come together? Well, because this is what we saw when we were out the other day. These are pictures from our car wash. This is where, and again, we think in these great big robust programs, and I'm thinking, hey, Greg, I got a bunch of groceries and I've got a bunch of cans. Would you mind helping me put them up on the shelf? One-on-ones. But
so what you're doing right now is you're sort of teaching us that it doesn't have to be an organized program. It can be in the moment type of things. So how do you teach this in a class? And people think we're rambling, and we probably are a little bit longer on our podcast than usual. But how do you teach this? Because we're all over the map on this. How do you sort of say, here's some of the building blocks that you need to start with?
yeah. And so for us, it's a pyramid, and we've got to know people. We've got to understand activities. We got to use a schedule, make a schedule and use one. We've got to build the carer's skills, and we've got to actually have time and place. We've got to know how to manage places in wherever we're going so it stays safe and engaged. And then we have to have the resources. So we have a pyramid. So what we designate is an engagement leader, someone who knows how to lead engagement, not run activities, lead engagement. People within the organization or within the family or volunteers can run an activity if they're prepared. So one of our most highly skilled personnel is an engagement leader. And so we have a certification for it because it takes skill to do this.
If people want more information on this, what can they do? Can they look at your videos? Can they take a course? Where can we steer them?
Well, we can steer them to our certification page because we do have lots of information about various certifications, and that includes our engagement leader. And that's really a vital piece of the puzzle when it comes to living life with dementia and living well. Males, females, you, me, putting the puzzle together for a life worth living.
Teepa, thank you very much.
Thank you, Greg.
You've been listening to the Dementia Care Partners podcast, brought to you by Positive Approach to Care. For more information, go to teepasnow.com.